Hello, my name is José María Yazpik, and you are watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press. Today I am so happy to be joined by José María Yazpik. How are you?
I'm very good, Chloe. How are you? I'm very happy to be talking with you.
I'm so excited to chat with you about your work in the Gringo Hunters, such a fantastic series on Netflix. But before we get into the show, your career in TV and film has spanned 30 years, and the entertainment industry is challenging and always changing. So, how do you stay motivated as an artist to continue creating in this space?
Well, that's a very good question. I often ask it myself um, because it's hard to stay motivated in a career that's heartbreaking and relentless. No, I think it's just a basic necessity to speak and to express myself through different characters. I do it through music as well. I love playing the guitar. I express myself through my kids as well when we play together or sports. But acting is something special. It brings out the humanity. I don't know if that's very clear or not, but I've directed, I've written, and all those types of expressions, of artistic expressions, they're just like food for the soul. And when you keep that going, the motivation comes by itself.
That's very true. It's like sometimes you need something new, like you mentioned, with the music and the guitars. It's like a new vessel, a new creative outlet for you. And I know you said before that you really want to work on projects that speak to you. And I'm happy that you have the privilege to be able to do this now in your career and choose roles that you'll have fun with. And you said before that you can travel with family, which I know is something that you value and hold close as well.
Yes, yes, of course. I've always been like that, actually. My first projects that I did when I started acting, I had to do them because I had no money and I had to, get experience and all that stuff. And even though I enjoyed them, uh, they just weren't fulfilling, and I found myself in a very bad mood and grumpy and feeling like I wasn't getting anywhere professionally speaking and personally speaking. So I decided very early in my career to just try to do the work that fulfilled me um, in as much or as many ways possible. Um, that's why I haven't done a lot of big studio things, or I don't work um, very often. I try to work with something that is gonna make me a better person, a better actor, a better father, a better friend. And then I have to stop and think about it and just digest it and and breathe and just stare at the trees, and then I'm ready to do something else. But that can take me 6 months.
It's really good to be at that stage to make sure you're taking care of yourself. And you mentioned the people around you. And in 2019, you kind of mentioned this earlier, but you directed, you co-produced, co-wrote, and acted in the crime comedy Polvo. How was that experience for you being behind the camera of your production? And was it something you'd always been interested in doing?
No, no, no. All the contrary. I didn't want to do any of those things. I wanted to produce because I wanted to have the power of decision. But then when I worked with Alejandro Ricaño, who also co-wrote it, when he gave me the script the first time, it was like, no, he's not. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Because I know the people from that little town. My father was born there, and I used to spend all my summers there. So I know the tone, I know the humor. I just know the color of those people, and so I had to start writing because I was the only one that knew how they were. So I didn't want to write on on the first time, but I had to. And then my brother, who's also a producer in the film, said, "Who's going to direct it?" And he told me, "I think you should direct it because you're going to be telling the director all the time how it's supposed to be, where the camera is supposed to go, the tone of the people, all that stuff." So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll direct it, but I don't want to direct myself. So who's going to act it?" And then it was like, "Well, I wrote it for me, so I guess I'll just do everything." And that's how it happened. I didn't want to do any of those things. I just wanted to act and be producer, and I ended up doing absolutely everything. And it was amazing. It was a fantastic learning experience, and the most important thing about directing is the choosing of the right elements, the right people that are gonna, get your back when you fall. And I knew I was gonna fall because I didn't have the experience, and so I surrounded myself with absolutely brilliant people that also cared for me. So it was an amazing experience, and I'm working right now on my second script, so I can do that again.
It must have been so rewarding to finally get to the finishing point and see that final product. And it really sounded like it was a team effort. So I'm glad that you got that experience and now you kind of have a better knowledge moving forward in your own work. Speaking of another project of yours, you starred as Armado in Narcos and Narcos Mexico. What did you take away from your character across the 5 years you played him, and what did you learn about yourself personally and professionally?
Um, that's a good question. It's very hard to speak about those people that commit such horrible crimes and do such a huge amount of damage, not only to Mexico but to the U.S. and to the other countries that they export their drugs. It's very hard to not to judge them, um, because they're monsters. So it's very hard not to judge them, and the challenge was to try to make them human, to understand that they also love, that they also fear, that they also uh, feel pain, and I guess that was like the most intricate and the most interesting part of the whole Amado Carrillo experience was that, no, not judging the character and just treating him with the respect of any human being.
And with that role, I was gonna say, like it's balancing, like you mentioned, bringing that emotional complexity to someone that is based off a real life person and has committed these crimes. What do you miss the most about being on that set with such a talented ensemble cast and creative team?
I miss everything about Narcos. I just had a lot of fun there, and the great thing about doing a series that takes 5 years or whatever is that you really get to develop the character and you grow with it. It's not like a film that you start, you end, and boom, that's it. Um, so I miss the whole thing. I miss knowing that in 6 months' time I was gonna come back, get my black T-shirt on, and Amado was gonna be back. No, I love working with the directors. All of them were my close friends as well. I just miss everything about it. I love doing bad uh, people. I love acting villains, and giving them the complexity that they deserve. So um, everything was just fantastic during my experience as a model.
Did you get to shadow any of the directors that you worked with on that set and kind of get some of their knowledge?
What do you mean shadow?
Oh, kind of like maybe watch how they work and pick up pieces that you might have used when you were a director in Polvo.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I spoke with several of them actually to give me tips, and I'm very observant when I'm on the set. I'm always looking at absolutely everything. So Yes, of course. It'd be stupid of me not to have done that, no? Especially working with so many great directors that have all the experience in the world. Yeah, I was always listening. I was always next to the chair, like, you're gonna do, oh, okay, that's yeah. Blah, blah, blah. So
Asking the
yeah,
questions and all that. That's
asking the questions, um, learning the communication between director and actor, which is generally the most complicated part. Because if you're not doing something like complex action wise with the cameras, like Polvo, which is very classic style of cinema. Uh, the way that you communicate with the actors as a director is the most important thing.
And you definitely want to take that into your communication, with your actors on your sets as well. And I'm excited to get into your current project, which is the Gringo Hunters. And we are discussing spoilers. So a warning for all those watching this interview. You star as Joaquin Meyer-Rodríguez. Can you share some details about your audition process and what drew you to your character and the overall story?
I didn't have to audition because Stacy Persky, who also did Narcos, offered me the role directly. I was doing another series here called Futuro Desierto, and I was almost done when Stacy called me, and he said, "There's this really fun character that I'd really love you to read, and let's talk about it." So I read it, and it just immediately grew on me. We had to work on the scripts because, well, I told him, analyze the dramatic arc of this character. He's always in an office or inside a car. That's boring. You want to have a villain that you want to go to Vegas with, no? Um, let's put him out in the golf course. Let's take him out to a restaurant. Let's give him a wife. Let's spice things up because the more likable this character is, uh, the dramatic arc is going to work a lot better at the end. So Stacy agreed that I could work with the writing team, with the writers. So we started working on that and creating the Joaquin Meyer-Rodríguez that you see on the screen. I grew up in Tijuana, so I know a lot of Meyer-Rodríguez over there. So I just it seemed a lot of fun to just do small homages to several friends of mine and to just talk about the city that's absolutely mesmerizing and interesting and chaotic and corrupt and fun and so singular, so, like Tijuana is. So it was a lot of things that drew me to the project.
We'll get into a bit more specifics about your character, but I like to hear that you had input into him, and I think probably made him more charismatic on screen, like getting to interact with the people, and you can really see, that kind of magnet effect. And I liked how the series was filmed in Mexico, and it is bilingual, primarily in Spanish, but there are some interactions in English as well. And this isn't the first project that you've been a part of with this duality. So, how do you think the Gringo Hunters is successful in having both languages and in how global audiences receive it?
I think it's spot on. It's the best thing that's been done in Tijuana. Um, there are a lot of American movies or Mexican movies that portray Tijuana uh, in a very different way. In Gringo Hunters, that's Tijuana. So that's very that was amazing to see. What was the other part of the question? I'm sorry.
Oh, just like using both languages and
Oh,
how
both
global
languages.
audiences, yeah.
Tijuana is a bicultural city. You cannot have Tijuana without San Diego and vice versa. They're connected. They're bonded in a very very special way. So um, so bilingualism. I don't know if you can say that, but it's a part of Tijuana and it's a part of San Diego. So it had to be that way, and I think it's very the cast of the Gringo Hunters is amazing, and most of them speak very good English because most Mexicans that live in the border on the north of Mexico, a lot of them are bilingual because of because the U.S. is right there. So as kids, we watched the news, the TV shows. So it permeates to Mexico, and it becomes this bicultural duality that's very, how do you say it? It's sabrosa. It's very interesting. It's just full of life.
And I think we really do get to see this vibrant part of Mexico and Tijuana specifically. Um, how did you shape Joaquin? Like, can you share some insights into the key physical and personality traits that you focused on when you were in character?
There's two friends of mine that I haven't seen in a long time, but I really, I love them deeply. I won't say their names because it's a huge success in Tijuana, the Gringo Hunters, and I don't want to go back and have my friends going, hmm. But I molded Joaquin thinking of these two friends of mine that had a lot of money or have a lot of money. They're part of uh, families that basically started Tijuana. That they have, one of them, his grandfather donated, I don't know how many acres, so they could have like a golf course, and the other one is, they're just building stuff all over the place. Um, so and they both live in the shadow of their very successful families. So that's how I started, molding Meyer-Rodríguez. He's he wants to he wants to tell his father, or he wants to have his feet on the ground and say, "Hey, I'm worth it. I can do this. I can change Tijuana. I'm capable of doing this." And the things start to corrupt themselves, and you know it happens what happens.
Definitely. And with that, living in maybe a father, a family's kind of shadow, and the name bearing so much with your last name, he also, I think, carried some confidence with him. Like he has to be confident that he can do this and that he is worth it. So, did you focus on things like your body posture as well when you were in character?
Yes, it's as soon as I start doing that accent, that Tijuana accent, it just everything falls into place. Uh, it just happens. I like I said, I lived there many years, so it was like real easy to just get into the character and then snap out of it. Um, and I had the references, so it was very easy for me. I would love to tell you like a complicated story or a artistic process, but no, it was like I was reading for the first time the scripts, and I was like, it's this guy. It's this guy. Yeah, okay, I know what to do.
I think you did do a lot of work though, like you mentioned, you had that work in shaping your character and developing a
That I
bit of
did.
like that family backstory, and that
Yeah,
did
yeah.
most of the work for you. So with his backstory, you did a lot of it yourself, maybe had some discussions with the creative team and writers, but in terms of his family and living in his father's shadow, did you kind of develop maybe what line of business his father was in? And how that made Joaquin become such a prominent and wealthy businessman in Tijuana when we meet him.
Yeah, I did that with Dorantes. I didn't do it by myself. I started working with the lead writer, which I already knew, and we were friends, and we had tried to develop several things a couple years ago. So it was quite easy, and it was like, oh, Chema, welcome. Let's start doing this. What do you think? So I started telling them. So the Meyer-Rodríguezes that I know from Tijuana are like this, like this, like this. This happens all the time in that part of society. They behave this way and this way and this way. They play golf. They drink that way. So I basically gave them like the outline of a person of that stratus, and we started developing it as you know, as the scripts began to sorry about my English, and they began to roll in. So it was, we did it together, and then we would just, tell Stacy, we're thinking about this and this and this, and Adrian, the showrunner, and they were like, do whatever you need to do. It'll be fine.
Your character seems very well educated, so I imagine do you think he went to like some top schools, maybe studied business in school and university?
Like a lot of people in Tijuana that have money, they all go to schools in the US. So most of them, or a lot of them, they cross the border every day, and then they go to private schools in San Diego, and then they go to, Boston or LA or New York, or whatever. They can do it. So most of them are quite educated.
And you also, I think you went to school in San Diego as well, so
I
maybe
went
draw some of that experience there. But something that's part of your character is he carries grief from his daughter Mariana's death 15 years prior. Can you expand on the loss of a child, as a father yourself, and how you think that not only impacted Joaquin, but his relationship with his wife Luisa as well?
Yeah. Oof, I'm up. I have two daughters, so that's a very sensitive subject for me. I don't like to think about it because it's the worst thing that could ever happen. Um, the woman who plays my wife in the series is my actual wife. Well, we're not married, but it's like as if we were. And we have a beautiful daughter named Martina. So it was it was hard. It was hard to get into that space because as an actor, you take from your life, and you give it to the character. So uh, we didn't want to do it melodramatically, which is like a favorite Mexican thing to do, to take it to, the weeping and the we didn't want to do that, but we 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 wanted to have that weight on us at the relationship all the time. So every time we used to do a scene together, we would talk about Martina as if it was our daughter. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but it happened.
There is a really nice scene that the two of you share, looking at the family photos. And,
Mm.
she says, if we survived what happened to Mariana, we can survive anything. So it definitely built that kind of strength and resilience in the pair.
Yes, yes, and it was the backstory. It was like she's actually the one with the brains in the family, but we didn't get to develop it this season. Hopefully, if there's a second season, we can see that. But that was what we were working on with the writers, to have this like Lady Macbeth thing with Joanna.
I definitely feel like you can see maybe that she's almost like his manager too, right? Like she's kind
Yeah.
of organizing, also making sure everything runs smoothly. So we do get little hints of that throughout the season. And
Mhm.
Joaquin's main focus is, of course, building New Tijuana and obtaining that public support. What does he hope to personally gain by building this development? Like, what are those overall goals that he has with New Tijuana?
I think it's about ego, and it's about um, telling his family that he's worth it. No, and that's his downfall because he I don't think he thinks all the way through what could happen. And you can see that in a like a capitalist way of doing things from many people, many politicians, is that they think of the well-being of the masses, but they generally end up. I was going to say a bad word, but they generally end up, you know, and I think that happens with the character. He wanted to touch the sky, and he flew too close to the sun, and the winds melted. But it's about ego. It's about trying to do something that's bigger than yourself, and not thinking about without thinking about the consequences for the people that are involved.
So, kind of going off what you said there, he does make a lot of promises to people, including Father Murphy and the community. Do you think his intentions are genuine with respect to helping the less privileged, building housing, hospitals, supplying water, or is it purely motivated by bettering his reputation or that balance of both that he's kind of
It's about
struggling with?
yeah. I think it's a balance of both. I mean, he really wants to do good. No, he wants to change Tijuana, but he also wants to put all the people from Cartolandia in their houses with free medical care and all that stuff. He's a guy with good intentions that doesn't think things through. He doesn't realize the magnitude of the corruption that might enter the project and just bury everything. No, but I think deep down inside he wants to do good. He wants to do both, which is quite interesting, and that's what makes him a complex character. If it was just yeah, I'm going to do it for myself, then it would be. But that's what I like about the character. He wants to do good. He just doesn't have the talent to do it.
I like how they wanted to kind of name the hospital in the daughter's name as well. So that's something that, comes from the heart and is very valuable and pure to him. And like we see in this world, we might have good intentions, but it's not really possible to do good and keep your hands clean because in episode 10, it's revealed that Joaquin and his partners had made a deal with gangs to allow them to operate prostitution and drug rings in exchange for a certain level of security within New Tijuana. So, can you
Yeah.
tell me about this agreement? Because we don't get to hear too much about it, but why did it have to be done? Because, like, deep down, he probably knows it's not a moral and ethical decision for the people.
Yeah, that's what's also interesting about setting this whole thing in Tijuana. Tijuana is a very interesting place. It was a place where a lot of Americans would come down for prostitution, and during the Prohibition era, they would come down and drink, and you'd had like massive Hollywood stars coming in down there. Uh, it has a reputation to being like an outlaw city. Uh, there's a lot of corruption that's going on there. A lot of bad people living there, contraband, drug dealings. So it's a tough place. And when I used to live there, the government had an agreement with the drug dealers that they could do their job as long as they didn't mess with the civilians, and that worked for a long time. So it's kind of embedded in the culture. We'll have the bad guys take care of this, but they won't kidnap anybody. No, and that worked for many years in Tijuana, and many of the entrepreneurs and uh, dealt with it with the security that way. It was like we'll give you spaces to do what you have to do. Just don't mess with the civilian population. No more kidnappings. No more gang fights. He's on the graffiti, all that stuff. So um, even though you're dealing with criminals, and it's something that worked for many years in Tijuana. So I think it's a socially very interesting experiment.
Yeah, like the concept, and it is a sad kind of reality when you think about it. And it's kind of like intertwined in the show because with Father Murphy too, it's like, oh, the sacrificing a few people for the greater good, and how
Mhm.
these characters think it's like what's important to them, what has to be done to reach our ultimate goal. And for your character, he puts his faith and trust in people like Father Murphy and Ortega without knowing the true extent of their criminal activities. So, first off, when Father Murphy is arrested for child trafficking, take me through Joaquin's mindset as his own reputation is threatened and the hopes of New Tijuana are slowly disappearing. Like, what is he losing and what is his mindset?
Well, I think he's heartbroken because he really did care about Father Murphy. That's a true relationship, and also with Ortega. So two very important bastions of his balance. They just all of a sudden fall. No, so he's incredibly sad. He's very disappointed. But the interesting part is he doesn't take the correct decisions. He doesn't make the correct decisions. That's what the lack of talent I was talking about earlier on. No, he wants to do good, but he doesn't have the talent to make the right decisions. Instead of going after Father Murphy or speaking to the press or making it a social statement, he tries to bury the information because it would affect his casinos. That's a very bad move. No, the ego wins, and that's part of his downfall as well, because that's what the Gringo Hunters start investigating as well. So yeah, that's his downfall. Not making the right decisions and trusting the people that he shouldn't have trusted in the first place.
And with Louisa, I think she even suggests that he use that information, but it's too late by the time he might want to use it. Like you mentioned, he's trying to bury this. He calls
Exactly.
Ortega to take care of it. And Ortega obviously is also in on it and this mastermind. And soon after, Nico provides him with information that Ortega killed Mariana. So at first he does question its authenticity, but how does he process that new information and come to the decision to take out Ortega, avenging his daughter and saving Nico in the process?
Yeah, I think it's, when everything's lost, then you have nothing to lose. No, Nueva Tijuana is gone. Father Murphy just got arrested, and then you see that piece of information. You want vengeance. No, you want to avenge the darkest and the most painful thing that's happened in your life. So I think that decision with Ortega is I think it's the right one. It's weird to say, no, but knowing how Tijuana works and the corruption works, Ortega was gonna walk free soon. So it had to be very definite punishment that, because you don't know what's going to happen in such a corrupt place. Uh, I don't know if I would have done the same thing, but probably.
Like you mentioned, you don't want to think about it, but when it comes to, the corruption and we see it in the force, he knows that he will escape punishment. And I have to say, your character's lucky to have a right-hand man like Rafa, who took the fall for it ultimately. But at the end of the season, he does call Nico and says that a common enemy does not make them friends, and shares a bit of a veiled threat that he'll see him soon. So when you filmed that scene, in your eyes, what were the intentions behind his call to Nico, and what does he think about him and the work of the International Liaison Unit?
Yeah, well, he's the reason that Nueva Tijuana just came crumbling down. So I think at that moment in time, Meyer-Rodríguez is just digesting what just happened with Ortega, and he tells Nico, "Hey, wait for me. This is not over. I just need some time, but you really messed me up. You made me be like a absolute fool in front of everyone in Tijuana, and so I'm gonna revenge that. There's gonna be trouble for you and anybody that stands in my way because Mayor Rodriguez has the means. He has the economic means to just destroy whoever he wants. But now the government is questioning his acts. It gets very complicated. So it would be very interesting to find out how exactly he would avenge his downfall.
And I think there's that almost a bit of a moral struggle for him because Nico is the one that provided him with that information. Like, it's
Yeah.
kind of that honesty, like an honest cop kind of situation. So it'll be interesting to see how he kind of grapples with that.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of ethics there. I think he's gonna go through. Yeah, I don't know. It's not written yet. I don't know if there's going to be a second season, but I would put my money on Meyer Rodriguez just going full on to get this cup.
Because his
That would be my
dreams,
that
right?
would be
It's
my
his dreams
instinct.
that have disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't know.
You did share many scenes opposite Sebastian Roché as Father
Mhm.
Murphy, and you mentioned your real life partner, Johanna Murillo, as Luisa. So, what can you say about each of them as people and as scene partners and getting to play with your characters' dynamics?
Oh, with Joanna is like a cornerstone of my being. She worked with me a lot when I was writing Polvo. We talk about this all the time. We help each other with auditions. We read the same stuff. We watch the same movies. So we're like very connected and we know each other so well that when we were doing scenes, it was just a little glance, and I knew that either something was wrong or I was going in the right path. No, and I would always, at the end of the scene is, how did you see it? Did you like? Did you believe me? We're like that all the time. And with Sebastian, it was just pure joy. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being, very talented. We had a lot of fun. I like to improvise a lot. And so I would always go in, yeah, we're not going to say this. How about we say this and then we take it to this place? And he was like, oh man, I wish I could speak English, Spanish a lot better so I could play with you because it was a lot of play. We've done theater, both of us. So we like to improvise. So it was just a joyous process with both of them.
And with Sebastian, I believe it was his first role speaking Spanish as
It's
well.
amazing, right? He's amazing. He's I thought he had like a Mexican mom or something, but because he was speaking it so well. He's a very, very, very talented guy. I love him.
Must be a natural. And the series, you kind of touched on it about corruption, but it creates a lot of conversations about economic and political interests and cultural stereotypes as well. So, what do you hope viewers take away after watching season one of The Gringo Hunters?
Like you said, I hope it opens up a conversation. That would be like the important part. Um, we're used to having the Mexican guys getting cut by the good American guys and sending them back to Mexico, and this is the other way around. So I think it, I would love for conversations to get started to realize that the U.S. and Mexico are we're brothers. We depend on each other, and we should act accordingly with love and respect on both sides of the border. So, and that's what usually happens in San Diego and Tijuana. So, but global wise, I would think that that conversation about that we have to treat each other with respect. I think is what I would like the most. Yeah.
That's such a great message. And if renewed for a second season, like what do you hope to explore with Joaquin beyond maybe kind of losing his mind and going after Nico and the unit? And are there any other specific characters you would like to see him interact with more?
I would like for Joaquin and his wife to develop a more Shakespearean relationship. I would like to like dive into corruption on both sides of the border. That would be that would be a very interesting subject for me, and just you know sink my teeth into the revenge aspect of the human mind.
Like you mentioned, you do love playing villain roles, and we kind of got a hint of it, but that he could be the central villain if there is a second season, which we're hoping for, crossing our fingers. Do you have any upcoming projects that you can share? You mentioned writing your second script as a director, so anything you can share with that or on the acting front?
On the acting front, I did a movie a year ago. It's called "You're Dating a Narcissist," opposite of Marissa Tomei and Sherry Cola, which was a lot of fun. It's a romantic comedy, but I don't know when it's coming out. And another series for Netflix called Futuro Desierto, which is about artificial intelligence and how it'll affect us in the near future.
And with your directing, your writing
I don't
script,
think
any
I'm right now. I'm stuck, Chloe. I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I sit in front of the computer and then 2 hours pass by and I'm just stuck. I mean, I'm done with the script, but I'm trying to give it depth and just make the characters more human and I'm having a little bit of trouble doing that. Hopefully by Christmas I'll have something uh, worth shooting,
they
and then
say
I'll start.
inspiration, though, it can strike whenever. So sometimes you just need to take a step back and take a break and then revisit it. But I'm
Yeah,
sure when the time comes, it will be exciting to see a new work come to life. I have one more question for you, a wild card question. If you were to compete on Master Chef, what would you make as your signature dish and why?
I would make carne en su jugo, which is it's beef with beans and bacon and a special sauce and cambray onions and parsley, and it all mixes up together with tortillas, recently made tortillas, and it's one of the most exquisite things that you'll ever taste. I do it all the time here. I love cooking.
That sounds delicious. Are you big cooks at home? Do you love kind of getting together for family meals?
Yes, we do. They're actually waiting for me, and I mean, we travel to eat. We love absolutely love eating. That's what we do the most.
It was such a nice way to end things off, and I won't keep you much longer to have dinner with your family, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate your time. I had a lot of fun. I hope my English was good enough to get my ideas through, but thank you very much for having me.
It was great. Thank you so much. And for all those watching, you can make sure to catch Jose in the Gringo Hunters. Season 1 is out now on Netflix, and we will see you next time.
Bye bye.